Hello and welcome. This is weird. It's the first time I've ever done this, so I do apologise. So you should be able to see me in this tiny small box down the bottom, and then you should see my screen, which I can see here. Recording Adobe After Effects. So with this brand new project, you're creating either a games trailer or some kind of animation trailer. Or you could be using your phone as well. And whether we look at games, animation, VFX, or any of those things, everything starts off with the 12 principles of animation. Okay, so I've got this link here. Let me find the link. There we go. Video, go away. So, and we've got all of these. This link will be below. And we can look at all of the traditional animations that make up the 12 principles of animation. And we have the 12 principles of animation because if you always start with these principles in mind with creating your animation, you're going to set up a really nice animation. You're going to think about your squash and stretch. So you're going to show that realism within your animation. You're going to think about the staging, pose to pose. What else have we got? Overlapping and action. So showing action shots. We've also got arcing, slow in, slow out, secondary action, timing, exaggeration, solid drawing, and appeal. So all of you on the animation course, you're already solid drawers. That's one ticked off the list. So, but we're going to go through the 12 basic principles of animation again. We're going to have a look on Adobe After Effects and understand what we need to do, what we need to understand, and almost this kind of works as like a refresher as well. And hopefully when it comes to sort of planning this and sort of FMP in the future, we can go and kind of always think about the 12 principles of animation and go, right, does my storyboard have this? And is it really showing off how glossy and professional my animation can be? So let's jump on to After Effects. We're just going to create a new composition here, and with this new composition we are going to go to, they look really good settings already, so I might just change this to a white background and 30 seconds. No, I'm going to change that to just 1,000 and that should go to 10 seconds. Lovely. So this creates our timeline, as you should already know, and we've got our timeline at the bottom with our composition at the top. Lovely. So first thing we're going to do is let's have a look at these 12 principles and have a look what we can do. So let's firstly, so got a slow in and a slow out. So we can have a look at that. Follow through and overlap. Straight ahead and pose to pose. We'll look at that one first. That's quite a nice and easy one, and also shows the effects of an animation as well. So straight ahead, action, and pose to pose. So here we've got a square that turns into a circle, then turns into a triangle. What we're going to do is let's have a square turn into a circle, something like that. So let's go to After Effects. So up here we've got our rectangle tool, so let's choose that. I'm going to hold shift on rectangle tool so I get a nice uniformed size square. So once I click on my square and I can then drag this around, I'm quite happy with that, fantastic. But what we just need to make sure is we can either right click on our shape here or right click on our square here within the layers panel for our timeline. And what we're going to do is quickly go to transform and make sure center anchor point is in layer content. So this is really important simply because at the moment our anchor point is in the middle of our composition, not in the middle of our shape. So if we animate anything, everything we animate within After Effects is animated from that center anchor point. So we don't want it off our shape, we want it in the center. So when we animate, it animates in the center. So as soon as we click on center anchor point in the layer content, we can see that our anchor point is now in the middle. Cool, lovely. So I'm going to put my square in the middle. If we want to align this, we can click on the align. on the right hand side. If you want to find where that is, go click onto window and go to align. Lovely, so we're just going to center that, lovely, and center that, brilliant. Cool, so once that's centered, we're going to click on our shape. We can name it down here, but we won't for now. And let's look in contents, let's look at rectangle, let's look in rectangle path. And here we see something called roundness. So so this will help us with our stage to stage and pose to pose animation. So what we're going to do is if we drag the needle to, let's say 2 frames, so it's only 10 seconds long. And we are going to click on our stopwatch on roundness and create a keyframe. Okay, we're then going to drag that to around 8 frames at the end, and we're going to put roundness all the way up until it's gone to a perfect circle. And automatically we can see within our timeline that has created a keyframe automatically. So if we drag this back, we can then press play and watch this through. So we've got our square, and then it's slowly, with pose to pose, is changing into a perfect circle. So there we go. We've already done one of those 12 principles of animation. I might just bring these keyframes a bit closer together so we can see that transformation happen a little bit quicker. So let's add that one at 4, add that one at 6. Cool, so as we play again, there we go, and it turns into a circle a lot quicker that time. Lovely. So if we have a look at our 12 principles of animation, so the way this animates is quite smooth. And what's animating those shapes, or what's helping that smoothness, is a keyframe called Easy Ease. At the moment, we've got very generic A to B kind of keyframes. We want to change that and make it look a lot smoother between our transitions. So if we highlight those animations and those keyframes, right click on one of them, go to Keyframe Assistant and click on Easy Ease. This should create a nice smooth transition. And as you can see, as soon as you click onto Easy Ease, they turn into sort of like mini hourglass icons. So let's change that again. Nice, quite nice and smooth. So we could even bring these keyframes really close together. And then when we play this, nice, cool. So there was no kind of jittering there or anything like that. A really nice sort of smooth transition between those two shapes. Fantastic. Cool. So you may have done before, we've looked at bouncing ball, so the squash and stretch. We're going to do kind of a version of that, but the other way around, of throwing a ball up in the air. So what we can do is we can leave this composition here, and if we go File, let's actually go New Composition, and let's call this just Comp 2 with the same settings. We can then click from one to the other. So I've got a new composition, so you can have different compositions together if you're creating separate scenes within your animation. This is obviously quite a smart idea. So let's have a look at throwing a ball up in the air, getting that kind of natural kind of flow of the lift, because if we throw a ball up in the air, there's almost that kind of moment of it's hanging in the air and then comes and drops back down again. So like squash and stretch, we want to kind of exaggerate that. So let's instead of a rectangle, let's click and hold on that rectangle tool and choose ellipse tool. Again, I'm going to hold Shift to get a uniform shape, and again I'm going to right click, go to transform and center anchor point in layer content. Lovely, and make sure that's in the middle. Awesome. So I'm going to animate this. Just do a generic keyframe of my ball coming in, so it's going to be out of my scene first. So if we go to transform, at position, let's just keyframe that transform position of my circle just outside of my scene, and then we can I could move that transform, but it's okay, I might move that up to just 1 and then drag this up to the center. Lovely. And then what I can do, just as a little bit of a cheat, is copy that keyframe, at 2, paste that keyframe, and it puts it right back down again. So if you've already got a keyframe of that same position, you can just copy and paste it. That's absolutely fine. So let's see how that looks. Lovely. So let's press play, comes up and comes back down. But it doesn't look like a bouncing ball, does it? So how can we do that? Well, first thing we can do is add those easy ease keyframes. Okay. So what we're going to do is highlight all of those keyframes, right click again, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Cool. So remember everything that we're doing here, right from the easy ease to the transitions itself, we are looking at the basics and the principles of animation. Cool. So let's have a look at that. Does that flow a little bit better? Yeah, that does look better, but there's more things we can do to it. So we're going to look at something called Graph Editor now. So if you haven't seen this before, do not worry. I'll take you through it. So we need to create like the speed of our animation, don't we? So we want it to kind of hang at this point and then quickly drop down. We're throwing up a ball and then we're catching it again. Okay, so with all of these keyframes highlighted, we can click on the graph editor that is just here. I'll just shake my mouse so it goes a bit bigger. There we go. And so we're going to click on here and we can see that we've got our graph editor here. So if your graph editor doesn't look like mine yet, don't worry. What you can do is right click and make sure you've got edit speed graph. So we make sure that we're on edit speed graph. Lovely, fantastic. So with these points, we want to edit these points to make this kind of flow. So at the moment, if we play this, it's cool, but it's not doing what we want it to do. So we can actually move these parameter points. We get these little anchors here where we can do this. So first things first, that's okay there. I'm happy with that keyframe being there. It's these keyframes I want to move at the end. So if we bend that there, and then we can bend that there, lovely. And you can see how we're starting to get this. There we go. So might have to move those keyframes, but there we go. So we've got a lot more natural flow of our animation. So I might just quickly move these keyframes. Let's move them to 1. So if we press play again, throwable up and then comes back down. So you can already see that it's got a really, really nice natural flow with it, like we're throwing a ball up in the air and coming down to catch it again. So we can create some really, really nice natural looking animations. Just, you know, it's not all about knowing what keyframes are doing, it's knowing what we can do with speed graph and easy ease keyframes as well. So let's just have a look on speed graph, see if we can change this. No, this is looking good. I'm happy with this. As we can see, that's what our speed graph is doing. That's cool. Yep, I'm quite out. I might drag that down just a little bit. And up there. Cool, so we press the play and you can see that loop happening. So that hang time is very much here for our animation. So what we can do is make sure that we just watch this part. So lovely, fantastic. So we've got a really nice flowing animation with our graph editor there. So we watch that over and over again. We can see how that animation is working and how the graph editor and how we can manipulate the speed of an object and how it flows up and down. Cool, lovely. So I'm going to sit you on a little task. I want you to, as you throw your shape up in the air, I want it to change shape. So you're going to be using the 2 principles of animation. You're going to be looking at straight ahead and pose to pose. And you are going to be looking at slow in and slow out as well, because we're looking at easy ease. And I want you to also look at probably anticipation more than anything, because it's that anticipation of the ball up and then back down again. So, because you know what it's going to do, because you've seen the initial movement of the ball move up. So, set you on a task using the principles of animation we've seen so far, or like a ball or a shape to change its pose to pose shape. using easy ease keyframes, so looking at the slow in and the slow out, plus the using the speed graph as well to create a nice free flowing animation. Cool. So I'll leave you with that, and then I'll be back and we'll have a look at another transition animation. Cool. Welcome back. Hopefully you've created some lovely flowing animations up and down using easy ease, the speed graph, and obviously keyframes. Cool. So now we are going to look at something a little bit different. So where is it? Not squash and stretch, not anticipation, not staging. It's one of my favourites. Where can I find it? Where you go? Secondary action, lovely. The website seems to have crashed. There we go. Fantastic. So secondary action. So two different animations happening at the same time, and how we can convey that through essentially kind of like one animation, really. So I'm going to show you an easy way of doing this, and then I want you to create your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to composition, new composition once again, click OK. And this time we're going to use text instead of shapes. Just works and looks a little bit better. So let's have a look. So make sure we're on our text tool, and what I'm going to do is click over here and choose some word. Oh, that's massive. So let's put this down to see what 200 looks like. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, let's stick with that. Am I happy with that? Maybe 175. Let's change that to 175. Lovely, that looks a bit better. So let's position this as well. So click on a line, center that, and maybe put it to one side. So I want my words to be one side here, and again I'm going to make sure that my center anchor point is in the center of my word, because that's where I'm animating from, and that's where I want it to kind of flow and look well. So I'm going to create a secondary action, and the secondary action I'm going to do is have the word art then slide over to the right quite vigorously, and then the word will change to design. So art, wabam, to design. So again, I'm going to use my easy ease keyframes. I'm going to create a position keyframe. I'm also going to look at speed graph, and I'm also going to edit my layers as well. So I'm obviously going to show you how to do it, and then I want you to do it yourselves. Cool. So let's have a look at this. So what I'm going to do is, now I've got my word art, I'm going to duplicate this. Click on my text tool. Make sure I'm on the second art, and then I'm going to change this word to design, just like that. So they're in line with each other, okay? And this is really important, otherwise the effect doesn't really work. Cool, so I'm also going to make sure on the top of my layers that art is on the top of my layer. And then what I'm going to do is, let's create some keyframes. So if I select these at the same time, see if we can do, yeah, let's do some I'll keyframe this first, it'll probably be easier to keyframe the word art first. So let's keyframe this. So let's take this to 2. And I'm going to keyframe on my position. And then we are going to slide over to, let's say 3 for now. Lovely. And then I'm going to grab my selection tool and grab the word art. And as you can see, I'm dragging that over to around there. That should be fine. So then we should have this nice little transition of art sliding over there. Cool, just as always, if I want a nice smooth animation, I'm going to add my easy ease keyframes. There we go, easy ease keyframes, lovely. So let's see if that makes that a little bit smoother. Yeah, it looks quite nice, cool. Oops, lovely. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on design. I'm going to select these keyframes, Command and C, so copy, click on design, Command and V, and paste those keyframes. So as you can see, where my needle was, that's where the keyframes have exactly pasted in. So I'm just going to slightly move these over in line with the word art. So they're essentially animating together like that. Fantastic. That's what we want at the moment. So design is going to be that secondary action, but it will be doing something slightly different when it comes to looking at the layering. So let's have a look. So we've got our easy keyframes in, that's good. So next thing we need to have a look at is we are going to select the two art keyframes and click on our speed graph. So at the moment it's kind of going like that. So let's change this. If we click on that keyframe there, so I want it to be quite speedy. So pull that there, and pull that there. Let's play through that. Nice. Right, I'm going to make sure I can't see design because it's getting in the way. And if we just press play on art, nice. So that quite quick reaction, and in the middle of that quick reaction, that's where we're going to have the secondary action come in with the word design popping in. So what we're going to do, once we've done that, I'm then going to do this to design as well. So we make sure, clicked on the position, there we go. And again, this will hopefully get you to be a little bit more confident using the speed graph within After Effects as well. Cool, so once we've done that, let's make sure we can see design. There we go, they should just follow each other. Lovely, fantastic. So here's the, well, not secret little trick. So you can use opacity if you want, but I prefer to use just moving the layers. It works absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is, let's make sure we can see our speed graph actually. So if we make sure we can see this right at that point, so right at that point, and come out speed graph. So I've got my needle in the correct place, and I'm going to make sure the art ends there and design begins there. So there might be a little bit weird of transition, but this, press play. Let's have a look at this. Lovely. So that looks really cool. So I am quite happy with that. Let's just, I'll grab this so we can just watch that over and over. Cool, let's just quickly. Fantastic. So we've got our secondary action there where we've got both animating at the same time. There is a little bit of a crossover, so we can zoom into that area there and we can see where there is a bit of a crossover if we zoom in. So maybe drag art back a bit, and we can drag that back out. Let's press play again, and hopefully that should be a smooth transition. Fantastic. So you can't even see the transition between the two, but we're creating a secondary action there with the word design. Cool. So I want you to do this and start to plan and think about what you could do with either your games trailer, your music trailer, or your phone trailer as well. So the phone might be an interesting one. We'll have a look at different kind of apps and applications that we can use, because we can even have a look at stop motion if we wanted. So the whole world is its oyster for you. So we can do 3D. We'll probably use a little bit of Unity as well to create some realistic looking game trailers. And obviously we'll look at more After Effects as well. So I hope this has kind of been a nice little refresher. Experiment with speed graph. Within your writing, within your sketchbooks, I want to see a different version of what I've done. Take what I've created and make it look better. Okay, make a whole animation presentation out of it and write it up. So I don't really want to see, well, I don't want to see what I've just created. Advance it, expand it, put that in your critical analysis and evaluation. Cool, lovely. And I'll see you next week.